So this sequence is going to help re-establish all your load-bearing joints into a better position so your elbow doesn't have to take the brunt of all of your movement. So as our shoulders start to cave forward, our elbow ends up doing the rotational movement for our shoulders. So we need to be able to open up our shoulder position, and we do that through changing the rest of our load-bearing joints. So that's why in this sequence, you're not really going to see a lot of rehabbing your elbow, because you've probably already tried that. We're going to re-establish all of the synchronicity between your joints, and then your elbow doesn't have to work as hard. So this exercise is called gravity drop. Now this is one of the only exercises that I would suggest wearing shoes for. We are going to need something that you can let your heels fall off of. So I have a small step stool here. You can also use a step ladder or a set of stairs, a staircase. We also want something you can hold on to. So if you have a pole, or I'm using the lip of a door frame, or even if you have two railings on one side. Now you don't want to just hold on to one side, because then you're more likely to twist. Have something that you can hold on both sides or in front of you. So we're going to start standing on whatever surface you have. You're going to walk your feet back, make sure they're parallel here, slightly pigeon-toed. You're going to let your heels drop down. Now you can see, and I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. We're going to hold this for 3 minutes. You can see how I just dropped everything down, but I'm still having my ankles, knees, hips, and shoulders in alignment. And then I'm just holding on. So I'm not letting my hips bail forward. I'm not letting them come back like this, having my shoulders cave forward. Okay, I'm also going to bring my shoulder blades slightly together, so you're getting a little retraction in your shoulder blades, kind of down and back. And you can have your arms at 90 degrees. You can have them a little higher. Sometimes as we hold this exercise, you might have to move around a little bit. It's a little bit easier with a pole in front of you, but you know, we do what we can. So you might start to feel this in your calves, maybe in one calf more than another. So like right now, I haven't done this yet today. I'm feeling it more on my right calf. So 3 minutes hold is suggested, but if you still feel uneven, I want you to hold it a little bit longer until you feel like that stretch in your calves is even. So we are working on releasing the whole posterior chain. It's interesting because we're actually helping reduce rotation. So rotation through your hips, rotation through your shoulders through this exercise. So yeah, my fingers are starting to feel it. I kind of move a little bit back and forth. Now we do want to hold on to something so you're not bailing forward, right? So I'm slightly leaning back here to make sure my knees, hips, and shoulders stay over my ankles. And so then you can just focus on your breathing, focusing on the difference you feel right to left. If you're feeling this in more one shoulder, more in one side of your back, along your spinal erectors, lots of places that you might be feeling that imbalance. Also feels really good for the calf. So I also want you to know that this isn't just a calf stretch, even though it might appear to be just like we're stretching our calves, but we're really working on leveling out the entire back body. So then you can look down, check your feet, make sure they're not starting to evert. I'm starting to kind of fall off my step stool here, so I'm gonna reposition, so don't fall off of it. Obviously, I hope that's a given. We have about 30 seconds left for that suggested 3 minutes. Again, careful you're not starting to bail your hips forward. Make sure they come back. So if you noticed that you are sway back, if your hips like to bail forward during your self-assessment, then that's something to watch out for on this exercise. Same thing if you like to come forward with your body. It's helpful if you have a mirror, or you can even set up your video camera to see. All right, so I'm gonna come back up on that block, then step down. So that is gravity drop. Again, remember, if you don't feel even towards the end, stay in the exercise a little bit longer. So this is static extension position. We are going to start with the easier version, and then I'm going to give you the more advanced version. If this is pretty easy for you, you can challenge yourself at the end. So we're going to start in hands and knees position. So your wrists are directly under your shoulders, knees directly under your hips. Now you're going to walk your hand one hand length forward and the other one to meet it. All right, you're going to shift your weight over your wrist. So you can see now my hips are forward of my knees. I'm going to let my pelvis relax and tip forward. So I'm placing a slight arch in my low back. My tailbone goes up towards the sky. I'm going to retract my shoulders so shoulder blades come down and back and together. So I'm not letting them come up towards my neck. I'm pulling them down and back towards my bum. And then I'm going to relax my head down. And we're going to hold this for a minute. You can work your way up to 1 to 2 minutes here. So keeping your elbows straight here. Now, keeping your elbows straight is going to help realign your shoulder position. If we start bending, then we're changing the position. For my hyperextending friends, if you're hypermobile, just make sure you don't really hyperextend your elbows. You want to make sure your elbow pits are facing each other. Now that might be very difficult for some. Good, so just keep pulling those shoulders down and back together, relaxing the pelvis forward. We're getting extension through our entire spine. And as you can see, we are recreating an S curve and reestablishing that throughout your spine here. Good, let's give it a couple more breaths in this position. All right, and you can go ahead and come out of it. So if you really want to challenge yourself, you can do this with your knees up on a block or couch or a chair. So you're going to do the exact same thing. Start in that squared position. Walk your hand one hand length forward. Shift your wrist or shift your weight over your wrist here. So you can see again, my hips are coming forward of my knees. Dropping my shoulder blades together, tipping my pelvis forward, sticking my tailbone into the sky, and you can hold this. Now you might feel like this is a lot more hip demand, and it is. So it's definitely more of a challenge. So that one you would also hold for 1 to 2 to even 3 minutes if you want to really challenge yourself. So now we're going to do some standing arm circles. So start with your feet parallel, slightly pigeon-toed, hip width apart. We're going to make that golfer's grip position with our hands. You're going to bring your arms down to your sides. Engage your shoulder blades down and back so you're not really thrusting out your chest like this. We're just getting a slight retraction down and back here. We're going to bring our arms straight out to the sides and make small circles here going forward. So you're going towards your thumbs. We're going to do about 40, keeping those shoulder blades retracted. Now you can see how I'm kind of wobbling here. I'm not squeezing my abdominal muscles. I'm not getting a slight posterior tilt. I don't want that. All right, I want you to just be relaxed within your torso and let your arms do the work here. So we are reestablishing the ball and socket joint in your arms and changing your mid-back position. You might notice that you might feel something all the way down into your feet because we're realigning the ankles, knees, hips, and shoulders. All right, go ahead and relax that there. Same thing, pull your shoulders down and back, arms straight out. Now rotate your hands up towards the sky so your thumbs now face the back of the room. And I like to do that when your arms are already out so you can feel that rotation happening within your shoulder blades. And we're going to go towards our thumbs, make circles to the back, opposite way, and same thing here. So I'm going to count down from 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 20. I think that's kind of annoying, so I'm just going to count in my head now. Or I probably just won't count. I'm not very good at counting and walking you guys through this. So making sure You keep your upper traps relaxed, so your neck muscles relaxed, and think more mid-back. Excellent, go ahead and relax. So this next one, you are going to need a little bit of wall space. It's called standing wall clock. Now I'm going to show you the foot position first, and then I'm going to turn around and show you the arm position. So you're going to bring your toes all the way together, really pigeon-toed, bring your heels out. You're going to tighten up your quads, lock out your knees, and you might even notice that your pelvis slightly goes forward, so slightly tips forward in a more anterior tilt. So that is the foot position. Then you're going to bring that all the way to the wall. So the front of your toes are touching the wall here. So now that we have the foot position down in that pigeon-toed position, I want to show you what's going on with your arms, and then I'm going to turn away from you, so please excuse me because we are doing this facing the wall. So you're going to make that golfer's grip position with your arms, and then we're going to bring our toes to the wall again, this time letting our stomach come onto the wall, our nose come onto the wall, and the forehead come onto the wall. You're going to bring your arms straight up above your head, so at 12 o'clock here, and your hands are flat, still in that golfer's grip position. Now, keeping your elbows straight, we're going to rotate our thumbs towards the back and outside, pulling our shoulder blades down and back. So I'm not raising up, I'm not shrugging up. I'm going to move my hair, so I'm not shrugging up. I'm pulling my shoulder blades down and back and rotating towards the outside. So I'm going to set that timer. We're going to hold it for 1 minute together. I want you to make sure you're breathing here and making sure that this is not a passive exercise. So you're constantly trying to get that external rotation of the arms. Don't forget your knees are still locked out, so we're changing our pelvis position here too. Make sure you breathe. This is not a very easy exercise, especially for a lot of us that spend our day sat in a chair and we're rounded forward through our shoulders. We're not used to getting this external rotation in our arms. So keep rotating out, keeping those shoulders pulled down towards your bum. Take a couple breaths. You might feel a little shaky, you might feel some blood rushing back. All right, go ahead and relax. So now keeping that same foot position, we're going to bring our arms to about 130 and 1030 and do the exact same thing. So rotating our thumbs back and out, pulling our shoulder blades down and holding for 1 minute. Keeping your stomach relaxed, keeping your feet in that same position, quads tight, knees locked, neck relaxed. You got this. Breathing, continuously rotating outward. Note if you're feeling a big difference between the two shoulders. This one is not easy, but it is one of my favorites for the shoulder position. Good, I'm still here with you. You got this. I know it might burn a little bit. Good, and rotate back onto the wall. So this last one, we're gonna bring our arms out to 3 and 9 o'clock. So straight out in that T and do the exact same thing again. So rotating back and out, pulling those shoulders down and back. You might find that this is a little bit easier to do in this position. Really feel those shoulder blades being pulled down to your bum here. And continue breathing. So your hands are touching the wall. Sometimes if you feel like your neck is starting to engage, I like to just rock my head side to side to make sure that it's my lower shoulder blades and my mid-back that's doing some work here and not my neck, not my upper traps, because a lot of us already suffer from upper trap tightness. A lot of people hold their tension there, That's normally due to not being hip driven and being shoulder driven instead. We want to be hip driven again. And wake up those muscles throughout our back to hold our shoulders in a better alignment. Excellent. So that was wall clock. You get a little face smush in it. So now we are going to do our supine groin stretch. So if you're unfamiliar with the supine groin stretches, you can go watch my video on the tower that explains a little bit more about it. So you're going to bring your leg bent at 90 degrees over a block or chair. You're going to have the other leg stretched out long, just laying there on the ground. Now you want to make sure that you have something to prop your foot up. So you can see I've put a bolster here to make my foot straight, versus I don't want you to let your foot start to evert out, because that's not going to make the changes in the hips that we want them to. So make sure that leg is propped up straight. You're probably going to feel some arch in your lower back. We're going to lay in this position till that arch lowers and flattens onto the ground. So it could take 15 to 30 minutes on one side. Just pay attention to when you feel like your lower back is settled into the ground, then you can switch sides. Make sure you do it on both sides. So you might be asking, what is this position, stretching out your hips, going to do for your elbow pain? So if you haven't learned anything throughout your membership, I hope you've learned that the entire body is connected. So right now we're working on bringing our psoas, our major hip flexor, back to its healthy, proper length. And when we do that, it's going to let the back settle, relax into the ground. And once the back settles, it's going to make a chain reaction all the way up into the shoulders. And remember, the shoulders are directly related to your elbow pain. So if you're rounded forward in your shoulder, your elbow is going to take more brunt of whatever you're doing. So once your shoulders start to relax, now your elbows are home free. So that's why we're doing this. So we are going to finish off with our trusty air bench. So this is kind of like a wall sit, but not exactly. So you're gonna bring your feet hip width, slightly pigeon-toed again. You're gonna walk your feet out, making sure they stay in alignment as I go out of camera. Then you're gonna sit down. You can bring your upper leg parallel with the ground, but make sure this is more like a 100-degree angle, not so much a 90-degree angle. So I want to still be able to see my toes. Weight in the heels. Now here's the kicker. I want you to press your lower back into the wall and flatten out your lower back. So if I was there with you and I tried to slide my hand behind your back, I wouldn't be able to do that because it's so flat against the wall. Now, if it's comfortable for you, you can bring your shoulders and your head on the wall, but make sure you're not sacrificing that lower back against the wall. Now, if that's not available to you, that's totally fine. Your head can comfortably come off the wall and be floating there. So, making sure you can even look down at your knees and make sure that they're in alignment. That's going to tell you if your hips are still out of whack or if they're in a better alignment, so you can look at the level of your knees, see if one knee is coming more forward than the other. So you might be feeling the burn, making sure that you don't collapse your knees together, and you really make sure the knees stay in line with your foot and your hip. I like to bring my palms up here because as you go, you're going to get tired and you're going to want to push on your quads. So you can work your way up to 2 minutes. I'd rather you start at a lesser time and be lower to the ground, more parallel with your upper leg bone. So start at 15 seconds. That's totally fine. I'd rather you do that and be lower than do 2 minutes but only have a slight angle in your knees. Now, if you do have a history of knee pain, you can come up the wall, lessen that angle in your knees, and see if that helps. If it doesn't, and you have knee pain, then just don't do this exercise. But you can always try it to see if this exercise particularly works. I've had people on their way to knee replacements that can still do this exercise. So to come off the wall, put your hands behind you, and you're gonna push yourself off the wall.